Wasabi wallet. I'm fairly private.
What's up, everyone? Ben with the BTC Sessions here, and this is your daily session.
Hodl that Bitcoin.
Before we jump in, of course, shout out to sponsors of the show, Ledn.io. This is where you can use your Bitcoin for a few different services, one of which is a Bitcoin savings account where you can earn extra Bitcoin on top of your Bitcoin, so you can stack sats with that account. You can also get a Bitcoin-backed loan. That's where you use your Bitcoin as collateral to secure a Canadian or US dollar loan. So if you're trying to get your hands on dollars, but you're worried about selling your Bitcoin because you think the price may appreciate, well, this could be an option for you. And finally, there's the B2X option. So if you're a huge bull on Bitcoin, this product allows you to get double the exposure to Bitcoin. So if you want to get any of these products, you can check out the link down below. And with that link, if you opt to get a Bitcoin-backed loan, well, they'll give you an extra $50 worth of Bitcoin. And secondly, if you're into Bitcoin, of course, privacy is important, and one of the things I use all the time is NordVPN. I've got it on my phone, I've got it on my computer, and so what it does is it hides your IP address, which is important to hide. It also encrypts your browsing data, and it has a bunch of other added benefits. One of the things I really like is unlocking geo-block content. So if you want to access something that's not available in your country, or if you're traveling trying to access something back home, well, you just flick this on, choose your desired location, and boom, all of that content is once again available. So if you want to check them out, you can hit the link down below, and with this link, it gives you 70% off, which amounts to about, I believe it's $3.49 a month, so pretty solid. And with that, let's move into the news. So some of you may have noticed there is a big backlog in the Bitcoin mempool. Those unfamiliar, the Bitcoin mempool is the backlog of transactions waiting to be confirmed and again, spendable on the network. So I'm going to head over to this website here. It's called mempool.space. And what it shows is over on the right here, these blocks are blocks of transactions that have already been added to the Bitcoin ledger, the Bitcoin blockchain. And these are potential blocks that could be added to the Bitcoin blockchain any moment now. So it looks like these are the next 3 potential blocks that are up to be potentially full, and there is a further 84.5 megabytes of transactions at the time of recording this video that is waiting. So on average, you've got slightly over a megabyte, maybe 1.3, 1.2, depending, megabytes per block. So that's, quite a backlog. So what is going on here? Are we going to be waiting forever for transactions to go through? Well, it looks like somebody is trying to put through a ton of 1 Satoshi per byte transactions. So they're paying the absolute minimum fee to get transactions confirmed eventually. And a lot of the time people will do this to kind of consolidate their Bitcoin into a single place, so that when they go to spend it in the future, if prices for fees are higher, it actually, by consolidating, it reduces your fees at a later date. So a lot of the times people will pump through a ton of transactions on the weekend when it's less busy, and the Bitcoin blockchain will just keep humming along, and it will gradually confirm through those transactions. Now, by and large, this has not really affected regular Bitcoin users, despite the fact that it looks scary that there's this much of a backlog of transactions. Really, the fees have not gone up substantially for anybody. So this website, bitcoinfees.earn.com, I like to use this one quite a bit. I've just become used to it. But what it shows is confirmed and waiting transactions for the Bitcoin blockchain. And the important thing that you want to look for on the side here is where it says delay. These numbers are the number of blocks. So the average block for Bitcoin is around 10 minutes. And so based on the fee over here on the left, Satoshis per byte, it estimates how long you'll be waiting for your transaction to go through. So right now, if you want your transaction to be 100% confirmed in the next block, you're going to be spending around 21 Satoshis per byte, which is negligible. Now, if you just kind of want to get ahead of that backlog of transactions, then it looks like realistically 3, 4, maybe 5 Satoshis per byte, you'd be totally fine. So really, this is not super worrying at all. And the nice thing is, with SegWit implemented, there isn't that 1 megabyte constraint that we used to have. It depends on the structure of the transaction. So if you're using a SegWit transaction, which is if you have a Bitcoin wallet and your wallet address starts with a 3, that means that you're actually helping the network because there's more of those transactions can fit into a single 10-minute Bitcoin block than a regular transaction that's coming from an address with a 1. If your Bitcoin address starts with a BC1, then that is a BEC32 address, and that's even better than a 3 address. Even more of those can fit into a single Bitcoin block. So if you have the option, then I would lean towards BEC32. But again, a regular SegWit address will do the trick as well. So the long and the short of it is not really a big deal. Looks like somebody's just trying to optimize their Bitcoin holdings that may have been split apart in a whole bunch of different wallets and addresses. Moving on. China bans Bitcoin again and again and again and again, and it's still equally as useless of a headline as it was the first time back in 2017, and before there were plenty of threats as well. So there seems to be a potential crackdown coming pretty soon for crypto trading. And so the reason why some people may be surprised about this is because recently the president of Japan came out and was super pro blockchain and kind of had Bitcoin intermingled in there talking about it. And they're rumored to be launching their own central bank digital currency soon-ish. And so everybody was saying, oh, China's done a 180 and they're all pro blockchain and they're ready to embrace cryptocurrency. But I mean, are you surprised that they're not super into a freeing, liberating technology that allows people to spend with no censorship whatsoever? I mean, no, I'm not. So what's happening here? Basically, they've mandated that the regulators are to go into any cryptocurrency trading platforms or exchange-related services. They must search and inspect them before November 22nd. This is specifically in each district of Shanghai. Then they are to report to the central bank for further actions. And this was indeed confirmed by a central bank, somebody from the People's Bank of China. So we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. We've also seen a social media ban. So on the social media platform Weibo, they recently banned not specifically these terms, but putting them together. So you can't say the word blockchain and crypto trading at the same time. So I those of you not super familiar with this stranglehold that China has on the internet locally in the country there, so there's just rampant censorship. Anytime anything seems to subvert the Chinese government, they'll just shut it down, and they've got full reign when it comes to any local social media, and anything that would go outside of that, things like Facebook and other social media accounts are just not accessible within the country. Even reading like Medium articles, you just can't. So Anyways, it's looking like they're going to crack down on trading, which, I mean, they've done before, and it's always kind of like you can only effectively ban something once, right? Because as soon as you do this again and you say, oh, but now we're for realsies banning it, it doesn't have the same effect. Now, there was a bit of a dip in the price of Bitcoin, but nothing super substantial because of this. The other thing in regards to their central bank issued currency, a website popped up that was like a countdown to the launch of the currency slated for November 20th, but it looks to be a scam because the People's Bank of China came out and said that this is 100% fake. We're still in the testing phases. Now, there have been rumblings and rumors that it's going to launch in the next couple of months, maybe even early 2020. But this website was completely inaccurate, and odds are it was just a scam to potentially get people to buy and speculate on a digital currency that would not have ended up being the real one. Let's move on. So Wyoming has a new crypto banking law, and this could have a big implication when it comes to the New York BIT license. So what was the BIT license? Well, back in the day when the Winklevoss were working with regulators, the Winklevoss twins, yes, those ones from Facebook, and now the heads of Gemini, the local New York Bitcoin and cryptocurrency exchange, those ones. Anyways, so they went before a court and testified. They were subpoenaed to testify, and they spoke about the benefits of cryptocurrency, but they were very friendly to the regulators. One of those regulators once was Benjamin Losky, and so what he did is he put together something called the BIT license, which was a series of hoops that any Bitcoin-related company would have to jump through in order to buy or sell Bitcoin within the state of New York. And it was incredibly onerous, it was incredibly expensive, and basically screwed so many companies out where a lot of them just left, and the ones that stayed, like they said that how many have ever been issued? So the BIT license has been around for 5 years, and only 18 companies have managed to get it granted to them. So what has happened now is Caitlin Long, who's a great person, she's been doing some very, very hard work on the front of getting crypto-friendly and Bitcoin-friendly regulations passed. Well, in Wyoming, she successfully did that, and it gives trading and exchange companies and I guess custodians and whatever else, dealers, brokers, all that kind of stuff, the ability to get the same kind of banking licenses as a traditional bank. So it would put them on par, and all of a sudden this allows companies to go to other companies for banking, like cryptocurrency related companies that are friendly to them, and no longer have to rely on the few smaller banks that have taken the risk of banking regular Bitcoin companies. So all of a sudden, instead of having to jump through these hoops and try and find banks that will deal with them, they can just build it themselves, which is super awesome. And so what could happen is you could have companies that create their own banks that are super Bitcoin friendly, and then they can open a branch in New York. And the reason why this would work is because the BIT license treats Bitcoin and cryptocurrency related firms as kind of like a money transmitter, whereas a bank is above and beyond that. And so if a company were to create an entity like this that is essentially a bank and then apply to operate within New York State, and they were to slap that down, then it would pretty much be taken to court, and the company, whatever company it may be out of Wyoming, would likely win because they would be way overqualified for the BIT license. And I think it's really cool. I think, I'm not super excited about the idea of just banks in general, but if you're trying to get around terrible regulation with better regulations, then I'm all for it. In the end, if people aren't super keen on the idea of custodians and stuff like that, then obviously you don't need to use those. You can buy peer-to-peer or continue using whatever other cryptocurrency companies and off-ramps that you opt to use, and you can keep your coins yourself. I always do advise, not your keys, not your coins, unless you have a very specific purpose for having your coins with a custodian, whether it be you're trading day to day or you're using some sort of a service where custody is required. Know the risks, and if you're not doing something like that, keep it in your own custody. Anyways, good job, Caitlin Long, and I look forward to seeing how this pans out. Now, fun. Frances Coppola. Anybody not familiar with her? She is notorious on Twitter for she just hates everything Bitcoin. And this was a tweet that she made back in, and I guess I should also preface she's a finance and economics writer and commentator. So she, back in November of 2017, so like the run up to the absolute peak, which was about a month later, and she's saying, listen, Bitcoiners, the more liquid currency always drives out the less liquid. She's saying that BCH will eventually drive out BTC. Suspending Bitcoin 2x was a big mistake. So this was on the heels of the failure of Bitcoin 2x, where a ton of crypto and Bitcoin companies got together and said, we're going to up the block size. We're going to basically fork Bitcoin. We're going to install our own team of devs. And then they would more or less have control over the trajectory of how Bitcoin would be built from that point forward. Well, people like you and I, regular everyday users, spun up their own nodes and started saying, hey, absolutely not. If you guys try to change this, we're going to ignore it. My node won't recognize your bullshit fake Bitcoin that you've created. And 24 hours before this fork was supposed to happen, every major company and like 90% of the Bitcoin miners and hash rate backed down and canceled the scheduled fork because regular users said no, which was incredible. So she's talking about that moment. She's saying that was a huge mistake. You guys are screwed. Now Bitcoin Cash is going to take over. So obviously that did not pan out. And just to illustrate a little bit here is the heat map here. So this is it's called Coin360, and it kind of shows cryptocurrencies in relation to size of the entire market, as well as movement in price. So you obviously today the prices are down, so you see basically red across the board. But the important thing to see here is Bitcoin is still massive. It's the largest in the space, and it is around just shy of 66% of the entire cryptocurrency market. Whereas you can see Bitcoin Cash here. By the way, these are grouped by the algorithms with which these coins are mined. If you don't get that, don't worry. Anyways, they're grouped together. So essentially, Bitcoin Cash was a fork of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin SV was a fork of Bitcoin Cash, but the mining is still the same when it comes to all these coins. Anyways, obviously, Bitcoin Cash is nowhere near supplanting Bitcoin. And just to further look at that, here's Bitcoin Cash over time. Where was November? Let's see, November 15th. Around that date, Bitcoin Cash was around 16.5% of a Bitcoin. All right. So for one Bitcoin Cash, you could get 0.165 Bitcoin. Well, today, if you held on to one Bitcoin Cash, you would be getting about 3.2% of a Bitcoin. So it's been decimated. So just totally wrong. And I think the best summary of what has happened here is from Stephen Cole. Stephen, excellent tweet. Also great meeting you at Baltic Honey Badger when I was there. So he said, in response to the more liquid currency always drives out the less liquid, BCH eventually drives out BTC. Suspending 2x was a big mistake. He said, in his best Morgan Freeman narrator voice, they wouldn't, it didn't, it wasn't. So thank you, Stephen, for that. I had a good laugh. Now, another fun Twitter little update here. We talked about this a couple days ago. Craig Wright said that as of today, both Bitcoin and Litecoin would be dead by November 15th, 2019. He said the reason for this was that SegWit, there was going to be some disclosed bug in SegWit that would prove that they essentially don't have any utility and they would go under in moments. Obviously, I'm recording this kind of midday, but obviously that did not happen. Given the benefit of the doubt, by the time this airs, there'll be maybe a 5-hour window for that to still happen, but odds are I'll see you after the weekend and everything will be fine. So much for that. No dead coins walking that I can see as of yet. Sure, we've got a red day, minus 2%, but everything seems to be chugging along just fine. Yeah, so anyways, and the last thing, I want to touch on one more thing here. I got a fun little project arrived this morning. I put it together, no problem, really quickly. So this is a project called Node BTC, and it's essentially you can get a set of software and run your own node. Either through a pre-made box or something like this. So this is the Raspberry Pi 4. It's like a credit card size computer. And you can see with it here, I also got a 1 terabyte hard drive. And so what this little thing will do is it will store an entire copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. And I will be able to reference it with really any, like if I'm running a Bitcoin wallet on my phone, instead of trusting the company that runs the wallet to also run a copy of the Bitcoin blockchain, I'm referring to my own copy sitting at home in my room. I can also spin up a Lightning wallet and use that remotely from, again, a Lightning wallet on my phone or on my computer. And yeah, I'm super excited. So I have it up and running right now. It is gradually syncing. I started this up, I would say around 10:30 this morning. So it's been going for a few hours here. It's about, it's not quite halfway through syncing the blockchain, a little bit closer to a third, I'd say. Once this syncs up, I'm going to play around with it a little bit, and then I'm going to repeat the process and make a video of what I did. But shout out to Node. Also shout out to the guys at YYC Bitcoin, which is a local meetup here in Calgary, because they did a little demo of this the other night, and I was like, well, I got to try it. It looks really cool. So I will look forward to that, and I will keep you updated. But how beautiful does that look with the clear cases and everything? Yeah, I'm loving it. I think it looks awesome. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Always like, subscribe, share. Always hit that share button. Great to see new people here and great to talk to you in the chat. If you want to help out the show in another way, of course, links for the sponsors down below, Ledn and Nord, those are in the show notes. And also check out Wasabi Wallet. It is fantastic if you want to help with your privacy. It's always good to kind of drive a wedge between you and the history of your Bitcoin transactions, because you never know what prying eyes could be checking out what you have. So check them out. And also, if you really loved what you saw, you can always drop me a Bitcoin Lightning Network tip at my tippin.me page. And with that, I am out. Have a wonderful Friday evening, and I will see you after the weekend for your daily session.